Hello students, welcome back to your history class. So today we are going to talk about the political changes that took place. So the developments in the political sphere, it paralleled the social processes. In the 15th and 16th century, the European kings, they strengthened their military and their financial power. The powerful new states they created were as significant for Europe as the economic changes that were occurring. Both of them were very significant. So the historians have called these kings the new monarchs. They were called the new monarchs. Louis XI in France, Maximilian in Austria, Henry VII in England, and Isabel and Ferdinand in Spain, they were the absolutist rulers. They started the process of organizing standing armies, a permanent bureaucracy, and national taxation. In Spain and in Portugal, they began to play a role in the European expansion overseas. So all these political changes were now taking place. The most important reason for the triumph The most important reason for the triumphs of these monarchies was the social changes which had taken place in the 12th and the 13th century. The dissolution, the dissolution of the feudal system of lordship and the vassalage, and the slow rate of economic growth had given the first opportunity to kings to increase their control over their powerful and not so powerful subjects. Rulers dispensed with the system of feudal levies for their armies, and they introduced professionally trained infantry equipped with guns and siege artillery, which was directly under their control. The resistance of the aristocracies crumbled in the face of firepower of the king. So basically, what was the impact of these political changes? You can say number one, powerful army. Number two is use of gunpowder and cannon. Number three is the decline of the feudal structure. The feudal structure had dissolved. So now that the feudal structure had dissolved, the lordship, the lords, the vassalage system, everything had gone. There was an organized tax system. There was a national tax in place. Suppression of the feudal lords. Lords changed as the supporters. They changed their dress. Growth of money was based on the economy, and there was a struggle between the king and the parliament. So by increasing the taxes, these monarchs, they got enough revenue to support the large armies, and thus they defended and expanded their frontiers and overcame internal resistance to royal authority. Centralization, however, did not occur without resistance. A common thread running through all types of oppositions to the monarchy was the question of taxation. In England, rebellion occurred and they were put down in 1497, 1536, 1547, 1549, and 1553. In France, Louis XI had to wage a long struggle against dukes and princes. Lesser nobles, often members of local assemblies, they resisted this royal assumption of their power. The religious wars in France in the 16th century were a part a contest between the royal privileges and the regional liberty. So now you can see there was some unrest that was happening. There was a struggle between the dukes against the dukes and princes. Okay. Now the nobility, they managed to tactically shift in order to ensure their own survival. So now from being the opponents to the new regime, they quickly transformed themselves into the loyalists. And it is for this reason that royal absolutism has been called a modified form of feudalism. Basically, precisely the same class of people who had been rulers in the feudal system, that is the lords, they continued to dominate the political scene. They were given a permanent position in the administrative service, but the new regimes were different in some important ways. So what these lords do, the nobility do, they quickly change their side. From becoming opponents, they became the followers. So they became their partners and they turned themselves into loyalists. Because they turned themselves into loyalists, they continued to dominate the political scene. And now they were given permanent position in the administrative service. But the new regime was different than the old regime in some important ways. The king was no longer at the apex of the pyramid where their loyalty has been the matter of personal dependence and trust. So now the king was not at the head of it was not at the apex of the pyramid. He was now at the center of an elaborate courtier society and a network of patronate-client relationships. All monarchies were weak or powerful. All of them. They needed the cooperation of those who could command authority. They needed people who could command authority. Patronage became the means of ensuring such cooperation. And patronage could be given or obtained by means of money. Therefore, money became an important way in which non-aristocratic elements like merchants and bankers could gain access to the court. They lent money to the kings, who used this money to pay wages to their soldiers. Rulers thus made space for non-feudal elements in the state system. The later history of France and England was to be shaped by these changes in the power structure. In the reign of the childlike Louis XIII of France, a meeting was held of the French Consultative Assembly known as Estates General, with three houses to represent the three orders: clergy, nobility, and the rest. After this, it was never summoned again for nearly 2 centuries. So in France in 1614, there was an Estates General meeting, and in this meeting, there were three houses represented by three people, by three different orders: clergy, nobility, and rest. But after this meeting was never summoned again for nearly 2 centuries. So till 1789. And why it was not done? Because the kings did not want to share power with the three orders. He did not want to share power with them. In England, something very different happened. Even before the Norman conquest, the Anglo-Saxons had a great council, which the king had to consult before imposing any tax. This development into what was called the Parliament, which consisted of the House of Lords, the members of which were the lords and the clergy, and the House of Commons, that was represented by the towns and the rural areas. This is where the parliament system came. Okay, this is where the parliament system developed. And in the parliament system, there were two houses, House of Lords and House of Commons. In House of Lords, there were the members who were lords and who were clergy. And in House of Commons, it was represented by the towns and the rural areas. King Charles I, he ruled for 11 years without calling the parliament. When he was forced to call the parliament because he needed some money, a section of parliament decided to go to war against him, and they later executed him and established a republic. This did not last long, and they later executed him this did not last long, and the monarchy was restored, but on the condition that parliament would be called regularly. So in 1614, one sort of a parliament happened, which didn't happen again for 2 years. And after 2 years, when it did happen, one part of the parliament decided to go to war against the king, and they executed the king. And they declared a republic. The state became a republic, but this did not last long, and the monarchy was restored. But it was restored on the condition that the parliament would be held regularly. Today, France has a republican form of government, and England has a monarchy form of government. This is because of the different directions that the history of the 2nd century took after the 17th century. So with this, we end today's class. What your homework is, there are 6 questions in your textbook. You will mark these questions in your textbook. Okay. Number 1, describe 2 features of early feudal society in France. Number 2, how did long-term changes in population levels affect economy and society in Europe? When you mark it in your textbook, mark it in a point form, okay? Number 3, why did the knights become a distinct group, and when did they decline? Number 4, what was the function of medieval monasteries? Number 5, imagine and describe a day in the life of a craftsman in medieval French town. Compare the conditions of life for a French serf and a common slave. What was the condition of a life of a French serf and a Roman slave? And you will imagine a day in the life of a craftsman in the medieval French town, and you will write it. These are the 6 questions that you all are going to do, okay, over the weekend. Stay home, stay safe, mark the other questions in your textbook. 2 questions you will have to answer, the ones that are written in the short essay form. You will have to think and answer those. Stay home, stay safe, take care, and keep learning. Thank you.